Just a little preface to what you're about to watch here. So I wound up taking a second engine apart. The first one had that bad cam bearing in it that you guys saw. So I wound up taking it all the way apart and looking at the second engine, taking it all the way apart and looking at the actual crankshaft bearings and whatnot. And there was some scoring in it, nothing terrible, just looked like some junk under the oil. No copper showing through the bearings on it, but I took it to a machine shop anyways, even after talking about not wanting to do that. And I'm going to go with a forged bottom end. So I'm going to get the block cleaned up, heads, cleaned as well, just so they look factory. Then after that, he's going to bore it out. I think it's 6 thou over, and then assemble the bottom end for me with gap rings. I think we agreed on 24 thousandths ring gap all the way around, top and bottom rings. That's just for the plan I'm going to have with this. Most of you guys, if you know what that means, you can tell what I'm doing with the rest of this, but that's the status of the engine as of now. The cylinders, or the pistons, were still soaked. I'm probably going to wind up selling that whole rotating assembly. Nothing on it was bad, but I just thought about, the whole purpose of having an iron block, being able to handle all that horsepower. I would hate for the limiting factor to be the one thing I could have changed easily while I had it all apart. So maybe I'm wasting money. I don't know. I get to sleep easier at night when I finally put this thing together. So enjoy the show. Alright, we're going to be taking apart engine number 2. First and foremost, I'm going to clean up first, and then I'm going to clean the engine, and then we'll take it apart. Around. Alright, we're a little more cleaned up. I got some more space, so now I'm going to try to degrind this engine so it's not terrible to work on. Off camera, pulled off the intake, water pump, power steering pump, flywheel, exhaust. Haven't pulled the broken bolts out of those yet. Today is just mostly going to be cleaning and then a little more breakdown. So, alright, shove rags in all of the intakes on the heads there, just so nothing else falls in it. I'm going to take them off anyways, but I don't want junk and stuff on behind the valves. The valley here, intake valley, whatever you want to call it, that's going to get cleaned up mostly. That's where all the junk is. And then just rough up the sides, ready for paint. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just taking a gasket scraper and lightly getting the surface off with it. So I don't know if you can really see this. So that grime has been pretty much ground into the metal. Just years of use. It's comes right up. So you keep doing that. Being careful because these heads are aluminum. And make sure not to get a corner of this jammed in there because it'll screw up the metal. Especially around your ceiling surfaces, like over on the intake. So like down in here, like along here and along down there. Ceiling surface, don't scratch it. Alright, so most of the engine's clean up, at least the top side is. Peeled off the engine mounts, some extra wiring that was left over, and some hoses. So now I'm going to power wash it because it's still gross. Alright, she's cleaned up. Power wash the valley, the intake goes back on here, front cover, as well as most of the front of the block. Still pretty gross, but it'll do. Alright, fast forward a little, guys. Pull the cam out. It's pretty simple. You just pull the cam retaining plate off. Make sure you rotated the cam a couple times with the rocker arms off, just so that you push all the lifters up. Then go ahead and ease it on out. Little trick is push the
lifters back down into the engine rather than try to pull them out. That'll help you kind of save your lifter boards and don't mess them up as much. So what I'm doing right now is I'm removing the connecting rods and pulling the pistons out one at a time. I've got on the end here the cap for it. Now these caps, they're broken, so I'm going to do my best to try to show you here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but the caps are literally snapped off the end of the connecting rods. So they're specific to each. So don't mix them up and don't flip them. We'll be back once I'm done with all of this. Alright guys, so little update. Heads are off. I'm going to be pulling the valve springs next. Cleaning up the aluminum here. As you can see, aluminum does corrode. Not the same way that steel would, but just got a junky looking top layer. So I'm going to clean that off. I've got the pistons sitting in a parts cleaner here. It's not like a chem dip or anything like that. I think it's by Gunk. Yeah, Gunk. Just Pep Boy stuff. So I'm gonna let that sit second time and we'll see how it looks after. Oh, as far as the engine goes, I was able to bore the cylinders, kind of clean everything up, finally drain the last of the fluid out of it. I don't know if you can see, but it looks pretty good. Sealing surfaces are nice and clean. Did that. I gotta wipe them up some more. Coated all this in oil here. My garage light has a timer on it. Here you can kind of see a little better the cross hatching I got going on there. Pretty decent for a first try. But yeah, I mean the block is painted. If it'll focus. Nope. Take a walk around it. Still got to do the rear cover some more. I didn't get that just because it's in the way. The stand, I mean. The other side of the cylinders look pretty much the same. All nice and bored out, clean. The block has been painted. Still waiting for that to dry a bit. As well as the front two ends there. Now there are going to be some spots that I missed just because I didn't know where the sealing surfaces started and stopped. So I just looked for the machine stuff and kept paint off of that. But I'm sure I missed some. Alright, so now I'm going to be hitting these with I don't even know what this is. It's a plastic abrasive wheel on my rotary tool here. So let's see how it looks. Alright, definitely looks cleaner, especially on the sealing surfaces. I just tried to touch up the rest of the block, but it wasn't really having it there. Well, this is going to get cleaned out, so I'm not terribly worried about no junk getting into here. I'm going to be doing the poor man's hot tank, which is just brake clean in a bucket. So, pull the rags out of here. They're all wet from me power washing it. And we'll get to these sealing surfaces now. Kobe. Battery's dead. Flip around for the big boy. Alright. Something about a nice clean machine surface here. Gotta get that in a little more, but looks pretty good for a couple minutes using the rotary tool here. Yeah, I read the directions on this. I think you get like 10 minutes out of this thing before it takes a shit. I don't know. Alright, so that's not too bad. Let's see, how long ago did I put that stuff? We'll give that another 5 minutes in the parts cleaner here. In the meantime, I'm going to disassemble the rest of this head here. See how much of a pain this is. Alright, so what we got here is a threaded rod. You thread all the way down into where the rocker arm would be. The more the better, just don't torque it. Alright. Then this little part here sits on the top of the spring here, or the valve rather. And then I'm gonna need a wrench for that. And then you torque her down. Yep, 13. So. And it's just opening the valve. Alrighty. Let's see if hitting it with a hammer does it. There it goes. Alright, so next thing you gotta do, get these little f***ers out of here. Get a magnet, make my life easier. So the retaining clips were sticking to the top of the, what's it called? Top of the valve. So I just hit a little tap, I'll call it. Tapped it with the top of a dead blow here. And there you go. So there's one retainer. Come on, just let go. 2 retainers. So these are your retainers here. I'm gonna hang on to them because knowing my luck, I'm gonna lose the new set, knock on wood. But alright, so now that you did that, your spring is pretty much loose. So now you gotta carefully release the tension on it. You don't want this thing flying off and hitting you. Could be no bueno. And that is one valve spring. You can see you got the top to it, the hat, whatever you want to call it. Notice that the top is smaller or less wide than the bottom. Proper orientation if you want to reinstall them later. So I'm just going to line them up back here and continue on down the line. Alright guys, so all the valve springs are off. You can see them up there. So now I'm going to pull the valves out, label them. I'm also going to mark the head here so that I know which one's which. So I'm going to do it about right here, and I'm going to put 1, 2 marks on it. So this will be cylinder or bank 2. Pretty sure this is bank 2. I'll write that on here so that I know. And then I'm just going to draw myself a little diagram here. So what I did was, as I said, top one's going to be the double dot, the bottom will be that. Exhauster down here, and this is looking down at the rock. Just so I know the proper, proper orientation for these valves when I want to go reassemble this. Yeah, alright. Well, we'll pull the valve seals off. Pretty advanced, so you might want to close your eyes. Just lightly grab and pull. These ones aren't on there too hard, so. Doesn't look like any of these were leaking. They look pretty decent. Got some junk on it, but that's kind of to be expected. You can see that these are the one-piece design, so it's got the what is it, valve spring perch, what do you want to call it, landing, and then the seal all in one. Kit that I'm using from Brian Tooley Racing, which I paid for. No sponsorships. It's a 2-piece design, so they have ring landings, and the reason you need those, 2-piece at least, is these style with the dual spring setup doesn't fit past this collar. And the reason you need those landings in general is because this is a aluminum head, and those springs would just chew right through it, man. It'll destroy it, so. Don't forget. Hopefully this is not foreshadowing, but. Alright, the valve seals are off. There should be nothing preventing me from getting these bad boys out now, other than maybe some carbon. Alright, folks, so one of the things I immediately noticed is See how this pin is now freely floating in there? The pin is still, here. There you go. Pin is floating. It's still pressed into the wrist pin here, but it's actually able to, you know, move and whatnot. This piston, however, this one hasn't been dipped yet, as you can tell by the gunk on it. I mean, it's just not happy. I want those things to be able to move around nice like. So, into the dip you go. And if anything, even if it doesn't look purdy like I want it to, at least I'll know that it actually helped. Yeah. Good job, me. Alright, as you can see, this is the other head I haven't gone and touched yet. There's 2 studs broken off in there. Got the other ones off camera. Now let's see if I can get them off without having to use that thing. Alright, we've got a random assortment of nuts. I'm going to take this nut and this nut, because they both fit over it, and just booger weld it on. Should be good. No idea what wire speed I'm going to be running. There's 172 at about, let's do 20 volts. Alright. Right there. I have no idea how this is going to turn out on camera, so should be interesting. Turn that wire speed up just a skosh. Try that again. Not enough heat. What is up with this wire speed? There you go. Hang, there you go. Oh wow, yeah, these were in there. Yeah, there was no way I was getting that off with that Torx bit. You still hot? Not really. So, here, zoom out. Focus. So you can see I just booger welded the end of that onto the nut and pulled it out. Second one turned out much better because I was actually able to dial in the settings on there. See, wire speed was 7, whatever that means, and then the heat was at like a 6 3/4, whatever that means. I tried doing this earlier with, I think they're like brand new zinc plated nuts or whatever it was. It was just not happy no matter what I did. Didn't get enough penetration, welds kept breaking off. So I just wound up booger welding a bunch on there and then using a easy out for nuts just by catching some of the booger welds on it. Alright, we're done with those at least. So I can finish cleaning up the surface and then do the same thing I did to the other head. Alrighty, so clean up the other head, did most of that stuff. I got the valves out of the second set of heads. What I realized is the exhaust on the other ones just kind of popped out. No big deal. But the intake has some gunk on it. I'm assuming it's carbon buildup, but you'll see the exhaust stuff just pops right out. Yeah. exhaust out. Got a little template up here that'll keep me organized. Like I said, you're looking at the exhaust side of it, looking down at the rocker arms. This is the order that it should go in. So what I did is I took, here, can you even see? I can never tell. Took this guy here and just knocked off some of the junk on the end of these valves here. Alright, so the heads are, here. Heads are completely disassembled, cleaned them up, pulled the valves and the valve guides, or valves and valve seals rather. I started to clean out the combustion chamber a little bit. See, I got here. I'm just going to have to find a better way. I don't want to screw up this edge here, because this is where like the engine's supposed to actually seal the cylinders off, so I don't want to round those off. So for now, I'm just going to be letting the pistons soak. I've got 2 done, third one sitting in there, 5 to go. Just to try to free up that wrist pin a little bit and, you know, generally clean it up. The rings, I'll show you. Rings right here, you can see that the top 2 have released, and they're actually, you know, pretty well ungunkified, I'll call it. But the oiling ring at the bottom here, this little funky guy here, just doesn't want to let go. I mean, it'll spin, but it's just not spinning as easy as the other ones up here. I don't know if that's by design or what the deal is with that, but I'm gonna soak all of them, and then I'll get back to that to see whether or not there's more I can do for it, or whether or not I'm gonna have to buy a whole new set of rings. So I'll be back. Alright, so heads are disassembled, pistons are soaking. Next, I'll probably be cleaning up the front covers a little more. I'll be finishing up the cylinder heads and just kind of cleaning out the intakes as well as the exhaust, cleaning the valves up, and so on and so forth. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching.